Welcome back to the Installation Innovation stage here for the National Tile Contractor Association, the Tile Council of North America, our friends that keep this organization humming. I'm very happy to be here today, be able to contribute a little bit to some new things that you should know about. I think the title of this is something about flexibility in floor drains. Isn't that what it said? You're nodding in agreement. Is that what it was? It's kind of like spin the wheel and Andy can talk about it. So that's fine if that's what it is. You said yes, sir. Wow. Okay, so we do want to show you a couple of things as far as floor drains. So where to start? We've had integrated bonding flanges at Schluter Systems for quite some time now. We're actually the pioneer of bringing a surface mount or integrated bonding flange to the industry back in the year 2000. By 2001, it had really caught fire, and the reason it was such a sea change for the tile industry was that prior to us having our original Curdy drain, that some of you may be familiar with, the only drains afforded to us came from the plumbing industry. And those were designed for the waterproofing to attach to the drain under the mortar bed. So you put your pre-slope down, your pan liner, down to the lower clamping ring that was attached to the plumbing and the floor. You put the top piece of the clamping ring on and bolted it together, and then you packed mortar inside of that, and we bonded our tile to the mortar. We needed a drain that accommodated surface waterproofing at the surface. There was nothing on the market, but the tile industry was moving towards surface waterproofing. Trowel applied, sheet applied, and roller applied or liquid applied. But we needed that piece. That was the missing link, and now we've got that piece. That is an integrated bonding flange. That was Curdy drain. Years later, we introduced a line drain. Now we have a tray up here, or a piece of a tray, that actually accommodates our line drains. You might be familiar with those. They start at 20 inches and go up to 72 inches in about 4-inch increments. So you can get pretty close from end to end of your shower when you have a drain that comes in many lengths at 4-inch increments. But what we really found that we needed was something that's actually variable as far as its length, where you can actually cut it to length yourself right on the job site to make certain that it's going to fit just the way you want. And that's the first thing we want to show you here, and that's called the Vario drain. Imagine that. We're kind of clever there with the name of it. And it will go right into one of our trays that we're featuring here. Remember, these trays, the real benefit of going with a line drain is that you now have one flat plane that's tilted down towards a drain. So now you have no limitations on the size tile you can put on that tray. With a point drain, it's all sloping from all angles down there, and you're limited to a certain size tile based on that compound cup or bowl shape. Now there's no limitation, so that gives us a lot of flexibility in design. So we can still use those trays, or you can still pack a mortar bed that slopes in one flat plane down to a drain. Here we're going to show you a piece of one of our prefab trays. You can see that we're looking at it now. Matt's showing you that it's got the slope built into it here in the side. Or Todd, Matt's not here. Where did you come from? I should turn around and look at a colleague once in a while. This is Todd, by the way. Todd's going to touch stuff. I'm not allowed to touch stuff. Anyway, so we're going to put that in here. You can see that this particular tray, I'm not supposed to touch it. That's your job. There's union rules here, and I can't do that. He's at the handling union, so he can pick this up. But if you look at, I haven't touched it. You can see that it has the slope, so it's got the taper. That is ADA slope ratio slope, by the way. So you can use this stuff to build not only a curbless shower, but a barrier-free. True definition of the term barrier-free means no barriers to anybody to use that based on their ability or physical disability. And it also has the Kerdy bonded to it, so that step's already taken form. And you can see this flat channel here is where we normally accommodate our line drain trays, our Kerdy line trays. This is going to be a little different. Most of this channel drain is actually going to sit on top. And yeah, you can see the different increments here where you would actually cut it for the other drains and cut that out. But here, all we're going to do is put this small piece of housing in, and this is actually the drain right here. I can take this off. This one doesn't matter what the plumbing is in your house because it's a threaded, so this doesn't have to match plastic like if you had to glue it up. That's kind of nice. And you can see it's a very small drain body. It has the Kerdy already attached to it, so we now have the collar for waterproofing on there already. It's kind of hard to see, but do you see how that's offset as far as the tailpiece coming out of the drain housing? That's going to allow us to get this right up close to the wall because we want to abut this right up against the wall tile that's on our back wall. So that's why it looks like that. Then you have these little pieces that support it that go on each side like that. And this whole thing fits right in that notch. So we can just drop that in. We've got a hole cut in the back, right off of the back wall. Again, I'm not going to do the job that's not my job. And that drops right into that opening that we've cut. And now there's the collar. It's going to be put down with thin set right out onto the Kerdy here and right up onto the wall. So that's actually how that goes in. Now, a couple of other components. This is the channel that the grate's going to go into. And this one started life as a 48-inch long channel. And we've cut this down to fit right in here. And it has a slot in here that's offset. The reason we did this offset, because if you find you put the channel on there and where the drain's going to go is right where there's a joist, you can just spin it around and move it over a little bit and now avoid the joist. That way you don't have to cut through the joist, which is a structural issue. So that's what we've done. And then there's this little collar that's put on the back side here that's just supposed to promote most of the water going down into that drain body, even though we don't really aren't really concerned about this because this is all going to be waterproof. This will be a continuous waterproof envelope in here before we start putting these components in. So there you go, sir. So we'll just, oh, I handed it to you backwards, but he figured it out like really fast. So that was a little IQ test. He did that. You did well. You passed? You did pass. All right. So you can see that what you'll do is you'll tile the back wall, and then you'll put your channel down, and then you'll mark it with like a Sharpie or some sort of pencil, pen. Then that'll tell you where to tile to. Then you'll put your tile all the way across the front, and then the last thing you'll do is actually put that channel drain in there, and that gets all buttered up with thin set when it gets dropped in behind that first course of tile, and you snug that in and get it level the way you want to and so forth with that thin set underneath there. Then the last thing is to actually put the grate in. You don't put that grate in until the thing's all tiled and grouted, you're ready to go. We do recommend that you put a bead of caulking back here where the first course of tile meets that channel. In this case, we've used one of our profiles, taken the opportunity to showcase one of our profiles here that takes the place of the grout and the caulking. So that's an option too. So, but this actually gets cut to length too. Can you pop that out of there so I can show everybody that? Oh, look, and we have this handy tool that comes in the box that helps you lift it up for cleaning. You know, you want to do cleaning every once in a while of this thing to clean it out. But we have various grates. This just happens to be the square one here, but we have them in different styles and so forth. And these are cut to fit too. You cut this to length, and then there's little end caps that actually slide right on the ends to finish that off nicely. And that just fits, again, right into that channel. There we go. When everything's said and done, and that's it, there's your drain. So it's actually variable length to exactly the width that you have. So that's kind of a neat flexibility there. Another drain we want to show you, it's been out. Now, oh, I should back up. This is a sneak peek, folks. This isn't even on the market yet. This is going to be a few months before this actually shows up and is available to you, but since we're at the show, we thought what better folks to share this with and give a little bit of a sneak peek ahead of time. So we'll let you know when this is available. Yes, sir. Tileable grate option. You know, I don't know how much water we're going to be able to get through a tileable grate. Our tileable grate is another type of system where we're kind of relying on an empty grout line all the way around there to get a water flow. So yeah, maybe, I imagine it'll be on there, but as I know right now, we don't have a tileable grate option. So no. The other one, yes, our other line drains. All right, so this one is actually out and been out for just a little bit already. This one is called the F drain. We're not that clever, and so that means it goes on a floor, F, floor. But the whole idea behind this one was we had a lot of tile setters and plumbers tell us that the placement of the drain hole was not in the center here. It was right up next to the wall, or maybe even adjacent to two walls here in the corner. And if you look at our original Curdy drain flange, it's 12 inches around. And you really shouldn't be cutting that flange off to shove it up tight into the corner, because the flange is how we actually get the waterproofing from the Curdy to the actual drain flange. So we came up with this nice little drain here called F drain. And you can see here, it will fit right in there. And if this was an inside wall here, where my two hands are, you could see that you could now place that right up into that corner if you'd like. This can be the primary drain in the shower. It's also used as an ancillary drain, as a secondary drain right outside of the shower when you've eliminated the curb and the door, and you've run the drain up to the very front to be what's called an intercepting drain, where the water can't get past the drain, but maybe a little bit can with some soap suds or so forth. In some places, jurisdictions around the country, you will actually have to put another drain somewhere outside of that drain. So it could be used for that. And that's what Todd's going to show you here. Huh? You are quick. It's faster than I could say it. So it does have the flange, or it does have the collar on there. So we would fill this with thin set, use our small notch trowel, 8x8 notch trowel, to comb over the top, and then we'll lay this in here just like we do with all of our Curdy products, and that goes in like that. So you could actually put this in for a laundry room. I put this in my laundry room at my house and taken out the disaster tray. Because you know what the problem is with the disaster tray, with my wife at least, is that she couldn't get the front of the dryer and washer perfectly in front of you know, they weren't aligned any longer. And that really bothered her. You can identify with that? You really want those right there, don't you? That was me? I had a problem with that? Is that what you're saying? Okay, it might have been me. It might have been me. But anyway, when I took the disaster tray out, it was easy to put one of these drains in there, inside of a cutout, a little square cutout with the Ditra, place it in there. I did the Curdy band all the way around the perimeter of my laundry room, and actually I put a marble threshold, an old style marble threshold in the doorway, and I was able to put 4 5-gallon buckets of water on that floor without anything coming out of the door. It all eventually went down the drain. So this is actually not even visible because it's under my washing machine in my laundry room. This is just a construction cover that can be used, because many times this is going to be installed back at plumbing rough-in way before we get there as tile setters, so this will protect that and have that in place. So that's another flexibility that we have there. A couple other new things that I do want to show with you, because we have a few more minutes. We have a couple of new profiles. If you're familiar with our profile line, we've had a profile called Finec for quite some time on the market. This is a little bit different. This one's called Finec SQ because it is more of a square look here, and it comes with an outside corner button so you don't have to miter that 3-way corner any longer. This is also nice because if you look at a cross section of this profile, you typically have to back cut a tile at a 45 to get that to slide up close to a profile when you're doing an outside corner. I'm sure many of you are familiar with having to back cut 2 tiles to do an outside corner, and that's a vulnerable edge. We've always wanted a profile in there. This profile is made in such a fashion that you only have to take about half of the backside of the first tile off, maybe even less, maybe even a third, at a bit of a slant, and you don't have to be real careful to not chip the edge because you're not getting anywhere near that top edge of that tile when you're taking a grinder and just removing some of the material so you can slide it up next to the edge. The other nice thing about this is, regardless how thick your bond coat is or how thick your tile is, this is all that's going to be visible as far as the profile. In many profiles that are here on the floor, as the tiles get thicker and the bond coat gets thicker, the profile gets substantially larger to go with it. This one, it doesn't. This is always what you see. So the design community is actually very enthused about this one. The other one that's fairly new here, it's not even out yet, is what we call the new Jolly, or the Jolly 90 as we're referring to it right now. Used to be our Jolly and our Sheen profiles were the same profile, but we called it Jolly because that could be made out of some materials like plastic or have some coatings on it that we really didn't think would be good for a floor. We're not durable enough for a floor, but good for a wall or a countertop. So, but that Jolly also kicked back 3 degrees towards the tile. It wasn't a 90-degree angle, it was 87. This one's a 90-degree angle, which allows us now to have a corner button. Again, eliminating the mitering and that sharp edge that used to be out here when people would use the Jolly. So check that out. That's going to be a really nice addition. That's a 90-degree angle, enables us to have a button, and now we have a really nice non-mitered corner up there. So that's another new profile. Not even out yet. Again, another sneak peek. Another new thing, if you haven't been to our booth, which is straight down this aisle here, just a couple of rows, as what we're featuring now, is our niches that actually come with the lighted profile, with our LiproTech, which stands for Lighted Profile Technology. So we do have some on display out there. Again, not even available, just a sneak peek. So we wanted to show you what those actually look like. This is the LED strip. We'll eventually have them in various lengths, so you could go like under a kitchen counter if you'd like and so forth. But first baby step is to light up our niches. So you can see this is roughly 12 inches long, and it is an LED strip, and it has a little modular plug here on the back side of it, and this just goes right up into one of our niches and is covered there so to get it waterproof, and it goes up on the top edge and washes down the light down inside of your niche. So come by and take a look at that. It has this, and here's the connector that you would actually connect that with. So it's a modular connector. If this ever goes bad, it's just simple to take this right out of the channel that it fits in and replace it if you'd like. And these come in various color tones too, so that might be something you want to interchange. And that's nice because it's a quick modular. Now, as far as hooking this up, there's a couple of ways to do it. Typically, it's on a dimmer. Well, you can get a dimmer from just any supply store if you'd like. If you use those type of dimmers, you're still going to need to step down the voltage from house current to 24 volt. This is the step down transformer here. We call this the driver. When you deal with LED lights, you usually call it a driver as far as it's supplying energy. So this is the driver that can step this down. And this can handle multiple lights. This driver doesn't necessarily have to go in the cabinet in the room. You can put this down at the service panel, at your actual electric panel, your breaker box, and then run just a low voltage cable like this from that to the actual light. Or you can hide this somewhere in the room or up under the cabinet when we have those type of things. Or if you'd wish, this is a little bit of a different dimmer that we have available, where it's not only the dimmer, but it also steps down the voltage right here in the dimmer. So this will go into a single gang box. You'll wire it up, house current coming out, 24 or coming in, 24 volt going out, and then that can go directly on a shorter cable of your choice and go right into the niche, and then you can light it up like that. So we wanted to show you that. If you want to see what that looks like, we have several of them inset, tiled, and actually lit up in our display case back there in our booth, so you can take a look at those too. All right, so that's really what's new, folks. We wanted to give you a sneak peek of the new Vario drain and talk a little bit about the F drain if you weren't familiar with that, because it kind of snuck on the market. We didn't have a lot of fanfare for it, but some people are really kind of enthused about it. Did want to show you the lighted profiles and a couple of the other, or the lighted niches and a couple of the new profiles. So there's a little sneak peek on what you can expect to see from us here through the rest of this year. So again, thank you for your attention. We appreciate it, and maybe we'll see you back in the booth a little later. Thanks again.